Running Sentences presents Work, Work, and More Work. Part 6. Old Acquaintances. Bruno's discovery leads to a lot of questions, lots of them. From him to this man? Will he get answers, or will it just all be a mess of problems? This story is written and narrated by Michael Henry. It is a work of fiction, so any names, characters, businesses, events, and situations within the story are products of the author's imagination. Any resemblance to real people, situations, characters, businesses, events, and/or fictional businesses, characters, events, and so on is purely coincidental. Copyright 2025, Michael Henry, all rights reserved. The group had been standing in the lobby for a few solid minutes, with no one talking. Bruno felt like there was a pit in his stomach, and he'd somehow gotten this idea in his head wrong. But there was also a strange confidence that this was exactly right to the whole thing for him, and it wasn't really what he wanted. "I'm sorry, but you have the wrong person, Mr. Bruno." No, I don't think I do." "A family reunion, great. Why can't I just leave? I'm not wanted here." "Mr. Jess, please shut up or you will never leave this building." "Apparently I'm not leaving this office if I do or do not shut up. So fuck off, Mr. Portley is what you were called." "Bruno, what did you mean about this guy? Your stepdad for a little while? What about it? It was a month. He lived in your house? What is this?" Lindsay asked, rather confused. "There was a man by the name of Portley who was, for a short time, married to my mom. It only lasted for about a month, but he moved in with us and then out of us, and became my dad for that a little amount of time. Then suddenly he was there, he was gone." "Nope, I have no memory of any of that. Please stop saying such things were happening." This big man, whose shock of white hair and beard made him look nervous and red-faced all of a sudden. "Shouldn't you be saying that he shouldn't be talking about you in that way? You're being very general about all of this, sir," Lindsay said. "Probably sees some truth in it, Lindsay, and doesn't want to get caught out on his lies, like any other executive. All words, no bite behind them. Ignore him, and keep talking, Bruno." This was an odd statement coming from Jess, of all people, and Bruno narrowed his eyes at the man as a result. He couldn't tell what this guy was getting at, and everything was so uneasy and weird all of a sudden. "Anyway, did you or did you not once live with my mother, Radna?" "I know a person of a similar name, sir, but I don't know them intimately, to say the least. Why does any of this matter? Why would I care about your past that is firmly in the past, Mr. Bruno?" Well, I was just surprised to see you, and, well, you know," Bruno started to explain, but was cut off. "No, I don't know. That's why I'm asking. And don't you think about trying to sneak away, Mr. Jess." Jess had made it to the side door with the two escorting security guards behind him. Those two seemed actually unsure of what they should be doing, holding him here or making him leave the building, and they were sort of reaching out but holding back. "I was dreaming about it and making it happen until you spoke, Mr. Portley. Why don't you want me to leave?" "Money is always the best excuse for these sorts of things." "I don't have any." The company's money, Mr. Jess, is what I was referring to, and your contract should get you fired in any such situations," Mr. Portley growled at him. Does it really cover pissing off the old bosses? Because, that's what happened. I would guess no, so you can probably talk it over with the lawyers that it's not covered, so, I'm leaving." "You can't." "Yes, I can, Mr. McHale, because if I don't get to leave, I get to call the cops, who will then sort this whole matter out as kidnapping or keeping a person where you shouldn't be keeping a person." Will they do that, Jess? I don't know, Lindsay, but keeping me here is probably against the law. You can't hold a person against their will, as far as I'm aware. Yes, but... Mikhail started to say. No buts, Mr. Mikhail. Concentrate on this juicy bit of news that deserves all of your attention between Bruno and Mr. Portley. If you have any problems, contact my lawyers. They'll sort it out all for the better, and it's better than keeping me here. You won't get a cent. Your contract will be voided if you leave, Jess. Yes. You, Portley, should concentrate on maybe your stepson, maybe? That would be a better use of your energy in these trying times. Goodbye, everyone. It was not a pleasure. Portland actually then stepped to the side, which Jess then took the moment to hurriedly step through the exit. Everyone else should get back to work. As for you, Mr. Bruno, we have no connections between one another, and I know of no lady with children like you. I beg to differ, sir. I don't care what you beg of. There is also another thing, sir, Mr. Portley, sir. What now, Barley? The company is in need of a cash infusion according to our accounting and, Mr. Mikhail here. Isn't that right, Mr. Mikhail? Yes, but don't blame me for the way things are being run around here. I wasn't. I'm here to ask Mr. Portley if he could advance us some money to cover expenses in the business. Wait a second. The penny pincher Portley? That's who this guy is? Bruno tried to silence Lindsay from talking by waving his hands in front of her, but she kept going. You're the talk of the business of how things are run around here. I think that's the rumor that I've heard most about, and I'm pretty damn sure tried to avoid all of the rumors. The names given to me by workers do not matter, but Miss Lindsay is correct. I'm pinching pennies, so the answer is going to be no, Barley. But... I think we're doomed here, Barley. There is no but and no company anymore, unless we have more money. Mikhail said this to Barley, but she was waving him away, trying to look dead into Portley's eyes. There may be a way to get me to give you some more money, though, Portley declared. And what would that be, sir? Barley asked of Portley. Fire this man. Portley pointed directly to Bruno, who stood there, mouth opened wide. This wasn't going to do at all, and he wasn't going to take it standing around either. For what, Mr. Portley? Subjecting me to false rumors about being your father, Mr. Bruno? Well, no one heard that aside from us, and you don't really work for the company. You may be an executive of the board, but you wield no power over me. The glower from Portley to Bruno made him feel like it might not exactly be true that what he just said. Still, Bruno puffed out his chest as big as he could get it, though this wasn't really doing anything, and he wasn't sure why people thought this was some sort of intimidating tactic. Barley, do as I request and remove this man. You can't. He's on a very important mission for the CEO. Yes, as Lindsay points out, we're here to save the company, Bruno says proudly. You have no money to do it, though. And we have no money to do it, as Mikhail points out. I can't fire them, not yet. They promised that a solution was near to figuring out workers and our problems. We can't let all that good work of ours go by the wayside, but we need more workers, since one just got fired, so if you could help us. Lindsay's words appeared to be falling on deaf ears as, storming into the middle of this, Mikhail threw up his hands into the air to make sure that everyone was paying attention to him. No money, no work, no company. Is anyone going to pay attention to that part of the fucking issue? Might I make a suggestion? Everyone actually goes and leaves for the day. Mikhail, it was a great suggestion, but we all need to calm down, and then we can approach this tomorrow. It will be much sharper in our minds, and then we're able to figure out what's really actually wrong. eager to get out of there and out of the way, and not learn if he was fired or not. It was all too much for him right now. Bruno walked right out the door. Lindsay found herself fidgeting with her hands as she sat down. This morning was not going the way she thought it would. Her arrival at the lobby had promptly seen her rush down to the basement. Here, the security team was busy checking over things. Apparently, she'd been informed that her badge no longer worked. How long is this going to take? It can be quite a while, miss. We don't know what's causing the block, or an issue. I might know. Is it a command from the CEO? I just said I have no idea. What changed in the last few seconds? The security guard asked. I don't know, but I figured some potential directions would help you find the source, miss, officer. The door to the small office opened, and escorted in was Bruno. He had a glum expression on his face, and he was followed by Mikhail coming in. Why am I being called down here? Mikhail demanded to know. We will soon find out, Mr. Executive, but for now your badges do not work. I bet it's Portly's fault. And who might that be, Mr. Bruno? The security officer said, checking over Bruno's badge. The big exec who chairs the company, not the CEO who runs it, but the person behind them. I've never heard of them, so take a seat while we sort this matter out. I don't know how long it's going to take, so please don't ask me. Bruno shuffled his way over to a seat next to Lindsay, sitting down with a heavy sigh. Do you think this is related to yesterday's events, Lindsay? I mean, it has to be, right? Nothing else makes sense unless the company really is completely out of money. Possibly, probably, Bruno. What are you two whispering about? I think we're being set up to be the fall person for whatever is going on, Mikhail. Well, that wouldn't surprise me. You did drop the strange news on Portly yesterday. Are you sure it was the same man? Yes, I am, Mikhail. Lindsay wanted to stop listening as she really had no part in all that went wrong yesterday. Sure, she had spoken up, but it had only been to save her job. Was it really so wrong to do that sort of thing? I don't understand why I'm caught up in all of this, but since I am Bruno, I'm going to blame you. It's all your fault, Mikhail said. What about me? I didn't really do anything. You probably just talked out of turn, Lindsay. That man hates it when people don't wait their turn to speak. She gave Mikhail a wild look to try and figure out what he was saying and if it made any sense. It didn't, but she couldn't just let that go either. He has that much control despite not being the CEO of the company? He says go to the CEO and she'll snap her fingers to get things done. That's the way business world works. Are you two really that naive about your work? Bruno was shaking his head towards Mikhail. I see no reason to accept the status as is. This job, this secret mission about finding a better way forward for the company, is all about politics, and so all this politics and power grabbing and whatever else is going on are of no use to me. I just simply want to do the job I was hired to do. I don't think, like Bruno here, all this is probably happening because someone wished it. That is going to happen regardless, but I'd rather not be caught up in the politics either. Well, it's a little late on that front, Lindsay. Will you three talk quieter? There's a lot going on this morning, and listening to a bunch of workers yammer is not on my to-do list. What exactly makes up your list, Miss Officer? Miss Security? I think workers talking to you about their problems about getting into this building is a rather high priority. Only when it calls for it, otherwise it is peace and quiet, just the way I love it. All this talk makes me cranky. It isn't our fault that this is the way things are. I never said it was, dear. Shut up now, and let me get on with more important things. Is your phone blinking? I think I see a blinking red light over there at the desk. The security lady with the name tag Lemon gave out an incredibly exasperated sigh. Hey, then picked up the phone. Yes, this is security holding. Do you have something you would need to say or do, or are you being bothered as well by your badge not working? It was incredibly impressive, Lindsay felt, about how bitchy that response had come across from the security guard, that she felt was a person who apparently had no fear about her own job. I put on $10 that say, $10 anyway, that says this doesn't end well for us. You're betting against us, Mikhail? I've got nothing better to do, and it is only $10. It's against the law to make illegal wagers, Mr. Mikhail. And what about this makes it illegal? I don't know. I don't know the law, the exact law that everyone tells kids to make them afraid of gambling. That's not my thing. I just know it's against it, Bruno explained to him. Of all the things we can talk about, are you too obsessed with laws? Do you have a better topic to talk about, Lindsay? We tried pleading our case, but we weren't listened to, and the only other topic we can really discuss is how bad this is going for us. I'd rather we all shut up instead, Mikhail. Yeah, that sounds good to me. No good has come from talking lately. Mikhail crossed his arms, disappointed to be betrayed by Bruno for telling him that he didn't want to talk. The silence that followed, though, was on the awkward side. As they waited for some new, the conversation the security guard had didn't take too long, but it wasn't great either from what Lindsay could see. She sighed and tried to figure out the best perspective she might have for getting a new job. The market had been rough lately, with lots of advertisers for jobs, but few actually seemed to be hiring per se. Yes, I understand. Yes, all three are here. I should wait for someone to show up. Fine by me. Just make it fast. The security guard's conversation ended a few seconds later, and she looked over to them. Your problems are being considered by someone else higher up, who will come shortly to fetch you. Until that time, no more talking. She gave them a long scowl to prove her point, as they settled in to wait. It took more than a few minutes before the door opened, and in walked a neat-looking man dressed up far too well for working here. It was a pressed suit and tie, like it was made more for a wedding than for work. Oh, you three are to come with me to the top floor, okay? What is this about, Gustav? Is Portly up to something? You will find that out in the executive rooms, Mikhail. I have not been made privy to details, just told to fetch you and escort you. I don't know why you need an escort, but who am I to question things, and this is my job right now. You were actually hired to question things. Yes, Mikhail, sometimes it is better not to do that. Now, if you'll follow me, please. The man named Gustav turned abruptly, not waiting for a moment for any of them to stand up, as he simply walked right back out. By the time they got to the executive meeting room, which was a lot nicer, but not that much nicer than any of the other ones that Bruno had been in, maybe there was coffee machines and chairs were a little bit better, but still, it was quite a stretch to make it executive and fancy looking, which he kind of found it disappointing. In two chairs at the end of the table sat Portly and Bartley, with Gustav moving towards them and waving his hand to the door to ask if he was dismissed. Portly shook his head no, giving the feeling to Bruno that this was about to be bad. We have a problem. Yes, a company-wide one, and not just you three, as he means. Do not correctly, Miss Barley. It is important that we get the problem addressed correctly, sir, or we will wind up with a lawsuit. And one you can't afford, or can you? This is some meeting of some sort. What's stopping you from jumping in front of this problem? Mikhail pointed out. You aren't helping, Mikhail. I'm here to understand. I have no need to help the people who won't bother explaining things in the plainest and simplest of details, Barley. We would all like a better explanation. With a heavy clap, Portly slapped his open palm down onto the table. Everyone jumped at the noise, including Lindsay, who'd just spoken. What do you think we're trying to do? Talk around what you want and say things with petty, pretty language that covers up what you want? Why else would you be here other than to make sure what you want said is said? Mikhail announced. Bruno was keeping up with barely, since he rarely wanted to get into such messes. Mikhail's words were bouncing about the room, and now all seemed unavoidable, and things felt like they were all falling down around them. The constant question pinging in his mind kept him from concentrating too much. Is this going to be the last thing he does for this company? We are prepared to wave away yesterday's conversation about Mr. Portley. Barley's announcement finally caught Bruno's attention. At what cost? He was surprised that he'd managed himself to spit that out, and this question had been on the tip of his tongue anyway. Bruno figured he needed to know, though, since he was worried about all things going wrong. This is now contract work, and it will be the last thing you do for the company. That's the result of this. Mikhail, you will continue, but in a differing role. This is all under the auspice of forgetting what Mr. Bruno referred to me as yesterday, Portley said after Parley had her say. Well, I don't mind, as long as I get a good recommendation letter, and potentially you line me up with another company to get hired by. Do that, which would be fine by me, and I will forget everything about whatever happened yesterday. That's asking a lot, Miss Lindsay. Well, you're asking a lot from me for something so minor. Yes, I see what you mean, Miss Lindsay. We will do what we can, and at least a letter will definitely happen. I will object and say any deals will have to be written, signed, and notarized by lawyers and the like. Mikhail's interruption was promptly ignored. I can easily forget it if I keep my job. I don't want to be a contract worker. I'm not sure that is an option for you, Bruno, that Mr. Portley will go for. It is, in fact, not, Bruno. Why would I want you still to be around this company? Well, because I'm a prodigy of this place. Don't you want the up-and-comers to stick around, or do you not care about the stagnation within this place? Barley, who was sitting next to Portley, moved over so that she was a little bit closer, and tried to touch his arm to make sure he wasn't getting angry. Her voice lowered but was still hearable by them. He does have a point. No, you want to believe he has a point because so much of your job rides on him doing well. We all have a lot of riding on his idea to bring this company back to its heights. If I may, it would be better if we were all on the same page. Your secret project needs more funding and staff. It needs ways to get the workers happy. But you, sir, and you, Miss CEO, don't seem to want to invest anymore. The wells of money have run dry when so little comes back. You can't expect me to invest when I don't get a return on my investment. A thought struck Bruno about that. He doesn't play much with how businesses work or how investments in the companies work, but the last comment felt wrong. But no, isn't this the perfect time to? Especially if you're a big part of it. I know at some point enough is enough, but when you want to keep going, and you seem to want to keep this company going, shouldn't you do more? Yes, like investing in the workers, who will become happier because they think the company's turning around. Yeah, exactly, Lindsay. If all you ever do is get money out of the company, of course it's going to run dry. These types of things aren't self-sustaining machines, are they? No, that's right, they aren't, Bruno. You are definitely very right about that. You can only take so much out of them before they just fall apart. Then, as my boss Mikhail says, we need to put money back. No, as much as this sounds like a grand scheme of an idea, money doesn't just get put back in. There has to be a source for it to happen, and I don't happen to have any sources, since I've spent it all on other, more important things to me. Bruno felt like he was talking to a brick wall, only one that was named Portly, and was not a very nice one at that. You spent all of your money on other things that would make you more money faster. That's what you're saying. Yes, Bruno, it's all tied up with far better things making me money. But you said you had no money, Lindsay said. Do you two not understand something? I'm rich, but my money is all tied up in other things. To remove a cent, an iota, an idea could send my stock values crashing, and all of that money I have, I won't have it anymore. I also can't have actual money around me, otherwise the tax department might come sniffing around me and asking for taxes and all of that, Lindsay. So, yes, I don't have money. And as noble of a goal as yours is, Bruno, Portly is right. There's nothing for us to get invested in. That isn't the CEO I know. She'll be the one fighting to keep things going. That's why she started this project in the first place. Isn't that right, Mr. McHale? Unfortunately, yes. She would fight for the money to save things, just as I was fighting for the money to stop Jess from leaving. You are very right, Bruno. And that is another thing I don't understand. What was the deal with him? Jess, I mean. Barley threw out a long, hard stare at Bruno for even bothering to think about asking that question, which he returned to her. As far as he was aware, the man had, or was formerly worked here, in some important role, enough to get him an exit clause deal. But now that was all gone, so why was this all a big fuss? He was one of the co-founders of the company along with me. You didn't found the company, Portly. I came in early enough, Mr. McHale, to claim myself as one. It's no big deal. But I do get that. I do get to claim that. As for Mr. Just, well, he's an ideas person with no sense for business. But he had enough sense to get the contract that everyone was slightly afraid of, yes? Lindsay pointed out. Bruno pointed his thumb towards Lindsay and nodded in agreement. But he didn't say anything. He didn't think there was anything to add to that in the first place. This is getting off topic. He isn't anyone's concern anymore. He's no longer an employee, and you will no longer be one unless you agree to my terms, you two. A quiet settled over the room, with everyone staring at everyone. But to be clear, we're not getting any other help? No help, Mr. Bruno. You take what you have, you finish up your project, and you are a contract employee whose contract ends at the end of this. Then I turn it down. Where those words had come from left Bruno feeling confused. He hadn't meant to say them, and he wasn't even sure why or where they'd come from. Last thing he was actually ready to do was quit. You're quitting your job? Miss Barley asked. There isn't much of an organization left here, Miss CEO. Yeah, you won't give me any more money or a team to do this project, so you're getting what Portly wanted in the first place. An end to all of this. I protest, Mr. Bruno. I didn't want all of this. I didn't want it to end. What did you want out of all of this, Mr. Portly? To keep the company moving and running smoothly, it needs to make money, of course. McHale coughed and cleared his throat. But without adding any funds, you can't really do that much, can we? Look, I'm happy with your choices and don't really care. It's a paycheck is a paycheck. But you really need to do more here at this meeting, and it's confusing what you're trying to accomplish here. You understand your new role, Mr. McHale? You want me to do something about watching workers work, but it's not really any different from what I've already been doing. Something like that, Miss CEO. If so, that's fine by me. Can I go? That's all I really care about. I'm just more employed. Portly gave a curt nod to Barley, who then in turn gave a curt nod to Mikhail. Understanding that his role was the same, but different, but the same, he got up and departed with a long, drawn-out, frustrated sigh. Now, that leaves you two. Are you okay with this deal, Miss Lindsay? Well, I said I was, as long as you can help find me another job. You do that, and sure. Good. That's settled then, and you can head back to the meeting room and finish whatever work you were working on. That just leaves you, Mr. Bruno. You want me to improve the work environment, but won't actually help me do it. I cannot, in good consciousness, say yes to a scheme that essentially keeps everything the same. Then you will be escorted to your meeting room to collect your things. Bruno rose from his seat, nodding along. He looked over towards Lindsay, who had not left yet, and she was just about to, but had stopped at the door. Does this mean I'm fired as well, or am I suddenly the new boss of the project with no one else to work on it with? That will be decided shortly, Miss Lindsay. Just go back to the meeting room and wait further word. Lindsay sat mostly alone in the meeting room chair that she now claimed. It was the head chair where Bruno had sat. The man had been coming and going from the hallway to the room, but hadn't officially been fired yet. The afternoon had come and sat there, but she had no energy to go out for lunch or try to do some work. Instead, she chewed on her lip, wondering what was going to come next. The door opened as Bruno strolled in for what felt like the millionth time, and looking lost in thought as he walked to the far side of the meeting room, and then promptly turned around and began to circle around the table. Is that helping with your nerves? No, I don't think so. He kept walking around about the table, pace steady but seemingly staring dead ahead, lost in thoughts. It was getting annoying to watch, and if it kept going, her nerves might not take it anymore. Can you at least sit down? Sit? How can I? I've had so much energy running and rushing through me, with the thoughts of whatever's going to happen to me and all that can go wrong, that I just can't stop moving. Then you should just stay out in the hallway, which will shorten the arrival of the message. It will at least make things easier for you, sir. I'm not sure I want easier. Hell, I'm not sure what I want, or what I was thinking when I said I was quitting. What were you thinking? That it was the right thing to do, and to make a stand. The company can only go so far without its staff. Of which you're the star of it all, aren't you? I'm prodigy, not star. There is a difference, you know. She gives him a bit of a look to say that no, she wasn't sure she knew the difference. No, I don't know. What are you even saying, Mr. Bruno? Oh, it doesn't matter that much, does it? We're all doomed as this company is, and all the plans I had are just going down the toilet. What plans? She asked him, confused. Okay, fine, I didn't actually have plans. I was merely saying it because it sounds smart. Then why say it at all? You make no sense most of the time. You know that, right, Bruno? My worries are getting the better of me, and that is all there is to it. Don't listen to me or whatever. I mean, after all, I'm soon to be whisked out of this office, fired, and thrown away. Fighting back the sigh coming to her, Lindsay sat back in her chair. It was true they both probably would soon be out of a job. Despite her efforts to get something going, and to get something else, there appeared to be no way out of this. Sit down and calm down. How are you so calm? Bruno kept pacing around the table, going and going. I'm not calm. All I can do is sit and wait for things to happen because that's what's been presented to us. Why do you think I'm calm? Well, you're sitting and waiting. What else would you call it? Worried? He made another entire lap around the meeting room and was quickly approaching the spot where she was sitting. You also do not look like that at all. But I can't help how I wind up looking. Now, please stop pacing. Fine, I'll go outside into the hallway if that will make you happy. Doubt that will do the trick. Bruno had made it all the way back to the door of the meeting room, out, but it opened as he stepped up to grab at the handle, and in walked Jas, with a scowl on his face. End of part 6 of Work, Work, and More Work. Thank you for listening.